Alright, before we even get started, look at this gun. Look what he does to it. Wait. Now.
You're up!
Alright, so first things first.
Idly-ho, neighborino.
I know it's been a second. It's been a hot minute. I've been stuck at your mom's house. Yeah, I don't live in the woods anymore. I live in your walls.
He's in your goddamn wall!
So in the first part of this video, I'm just going to kind of go over the things I think the game is doing really well versus the things I think the game isn't doing super well. And I really want to focus on that last part more than the first part because you've played the game. You know the game is pretty good in some areas and pretty not in others. Like, I really want to focus on what we can do to change the bad things rather than stewing and jerking myself off, I guess. I don't know. I'll jerk myself off in private, thank you very much. Dude, I had no idea listing good things about my game would be this difficult. What the fuck? Why is this so hard? It's fun, it's good, it works well, it runs pretty decently, the enemy variety is nice, the guns are great, the levels are pretty good. It's a fucking video game now. The progression's nice, the visuals are good, the music's good, like, it's a good game. It's just so close to being done and so close to being there. And that's the tough part, is that there is so much good about it. I just need to nail everything else around it to make it the full package. That's it. That's all I'm going for the good. That's good enough. You guys know what's good. You played the game. It's pretty decent. I do really want to focus on more the negative side of things. Where I think things are lacking, how much time and how much effort I'm reasonably able to put in to fix those things, and what I should prioritize, right? Those are the kind of things that I really, really want to talk about. And so, inevitably, when I share this around and we go to discuss the video, this is the thing I want to discuss. This whole area of information, alright? So, that being said, I do really want to get into what I think the game is lacking. When I think of the areas in which Gtod might be slacking in, there's four major sore spots that come up in my mind. That's story, that's enemy variety, that's level variety, and that's activity variety. With regards to the story, we have all this crazy story and dialogue written out, and we know exactly where the game belongs, we know exactly what we want to do with it, we know the characters we want to write for it, we know it all. We just haven't had the ability, the means, and the time to implement it the way I wanted to. And so there was a point in time where I was like, okay, I'm either going to do this right or I'm not going to do it at all. And even now, I still second guess that. Truthfully, I think the game needs a story, it needs a narrative, and I don't think we can get away with the Risk of Rain 2 approach. With regards to enemy variety, I think the biggest area we lack in is bosses, with boss fights and mini-bosses specifically. I like the bosses we have. I wish they were a bit more complicated. I wish they had a bit more mechanics, a couple more attacks. But more than that, I wish there were just more of them, right? Like, I wish I didn't have to fight the Blade Sentinel every single time. And the Legion Sentinel, he wasn't even meant to be a boss. He was meant to be a dog round, right? Like in Call of Duty Zombies when you get the Hellhounds.
That's me there!
He was meant to spawn in, summon a bunch of Cinderhounds, and you were supposed to hunt him down through the map and kill him. He wasn't even meant to be a boss fight like that. So he's not even living up to his purpose. The boss fight that was supposed to be where the Legion Sentinel is was called the Lich Sentinel, and it was more like a different type of summoner, right? And then obviously the final boss isn't done yet, and he's turning out better than the other ones for sure, but I still do wish there was more variety, at least in the first two. And if we could make some mini bosses, that would also be pretty fucking sick. Alright, moving on to the next one. Before I get into how level variety is one of my sore spots, let me explain how levels actually generate. There's three terms we gotta know here. There's acts, there's stages, and then there's levels. You guys play levels, right? You guys understand that. But Gtod is separated into a 3-act structure. You got Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Act 1 is like the sunny area, Act 2 is the rainy area, and Act 3 is the summit, right? So in Act 1, you have 3 stages and a boss fight. Act 2 has 3 stages and a boss fight. And each stage has 2 levels. So when you generate a level, you generate a stage, but you pick from a list of levels from that stage, right? This is why you can mess with those things when you go to your wall of attunements. But I wish Act 1 had 3 levels in Stage 1, 2 levels in Stage 2, 2 levels in Stage 3, and I wish it had a 4th stage. I wish I had 2 levels in a Stage 4, and I say the same exact thing for Act 2 as well. I wish I had the 3-2-2-2 boss fight rather than 2-2-2 boss fight. That's what I'm saying. I think with Act 1 Stage 1 and Act 2 Stage 1, having those 3 levels to choose from would help with variety so much. Because right now you get 1 of 2 levels, and that's fine for later areas because you don't remember them as much, you don't play them as much. But for the first stages in each act, I feel like there should be more, and there's just not. Act 3 is exempt from this because it's Act 3, and that's a whole other thing, and that's going to be a different video when we talk about that. But Act 1 and Act 2, they're like the core of the game, they're the base of the game, and I wish they had more variety. Not just in how long each act was, but I also wish the levels had more unique mechanics. Remember how old Gotad used to have balancing poles, and it had climbing vents, and it had monkey bars, and dash points, and a couple other things, and zip lines and a few of them? I have really thought about bringing those back, and I think monkey bars would work really well. I think balance poles would work really well. I think climbing vents would work really well. But I don't think the other ones would work very well, especially since I remember the negative reviews I got about those mechanics, so probably not those. But I think those first 3 would be great, and I wish I could re-implement them in levels some way. Lastly, I talked about activity variety, and I'm going to use Call of Duty Zombies as a reference again, because I love that game mode, but there's a lot to do in Call of Duty Zombies. There's a ton to do. Like when you enter a level, you have to get all your perks, you have to explore the map, you gotta turn on the power, you gotta find the random crate, blah 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 blah. There's a lot to do. And there's a bit to do in Gatan's levels, but I do wish there was a bit more. And that's really it, dude. Those are like the 4 areas I wish and I really hope I can improve. So the plan pretty much for a while has been to release Gotad almost exactly how it is now, but with Act 3, the Summit. In that way, Gotad's release was going to look a lot more like Risk of Rain 2, but with mods instead of multiplayer, right? So it's not terrible, but not as great as I'd like it to be. So to that end, I kind of reached into the Shadow Realm and pulled out a list of cut content, and this is like stuff that I had planned or was going to do, or things that I realized now that I should do but realized I didn't have time before. I've dug this list out, and I just want to take a look at it and say, which of these things does the community think is the most important? And I promise we're not doing like the Minecraft thing where I show you a bunch of tantalizing features that everybody wants and then I have you choose which one you want and then I throw the rest back into the Shadow Realm. We're not doing that. There's a pretty good chance that if what you like doesn't make it into launch, it'll probably come in like post-launch content updates. Alright, so with that little disclaimer out of the way, here is the list, and this is what we're going to be discussing. So in the comments, or if you're on Discord, in the Discord server, if you're on Steam, in the Steam discussions, like, talk about this. Let's see what we want to add, what we don't want to add, what's important to us, what's not important to us, what you think would affect the game the most versus what it wouldn't. Talk about that kind of stuff, and let's decide from this list of things what are like a couple of them that we want. Like let's rank them if we want to. I'm sure most developers probably wouldn't rely on their community to this end, but I'm also an idiot, so I kind of need the extra help. Other than that, I think that's just about everything I wanted to talk about.